Hey, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein. Today I'm going to be giving you 6 legal tips for starting your online business. So the first tip is about the legal structure of your business. So one of the first legal decisions you need to make about your business is what kind of legal and tax structure you're going to have. Are you going to have a sole proprietorship, a partnership, an LLC, a corporation? Are you going to be taxed as a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a S Corp, or a C Corp? And you can have a combination of those different kinds of things. So my tip for you is to keep it as simple as possible in the beginning. For most people, that's the right way to go. I'm not going to say 100% of the time. Some people are very risk adverse. You may have huge personal assets. You may have a business where you're going in having a lot of liability in that particular area. But for a lot of businesses, keeping it as simple as possible is the way to go. And for a one-owner business, that means a sole proprietorship. For a 2 or more owner business, I actually don't recommend doing a partnership because I think the liability is just too high. I actually recommend there forming an LLC. But you don't have to. You can form a partnership, but I find that partnerships aren't as simple as you might think. Sole proprietorships are simple. Partnerships are actually really complicated and messy, and the most simple thing to do there is to form an LLC. So legal tip number 2. This is about trademarks and branding. So often, I have someone who comes in, who contacts me, who is having a problem where someone is saying that they're infringing their trademark. And I look and I'm like, yeah, they have a trademark and you're totally infringing it. I mean, we can come up with some arguments, but I don't think we're going to win it. And why did this happen? Because they didn't do a search. They didn't do a search. Just because you can get a domain name for your brand does not mean you have the legal right to use it. If someone owns a trademark, I don't care if they don't have a website, if they don't have a domain name, they may still be using that trademark in commerce by selling products in person, and they have no online presence. And even if that's true, they got the trademark and you're out of luck. And you also have to start all over again and they could sue you. So this is a very bad thing. Do a trademark search. Do a Google search, not just get the domain name. So, and how you do that, I actually did a whole video about that. I'll post that up there. But the idea is that you do a search on the trademark database, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and you do a search on Google to see if anyone else is using it and anyone else has the trademark already. Not just for the exact phrase that you're using and not just for an exact match, but for something that sounds the same, is very similar, uses a lot of the same words. So it doesn't have to be an exact copy to create a problem for you. But my big tip there is do a search before you do all this money and time and effort starting up your new business. Number 3 is always have a privacy policy on your website. If you have a website, you need a privacy policy. It is required by all kinds of different states and countries and jurisdictions to have a privacy policy. So just get one, just get one. That's my advice there. Put it on your website. The idea of a privacy policy for the most part is just to let the world know how you're using their information. So if you have cookies on your website, if you collect names and add names and emails so people can sign up for your email list, if you sell stuff on your website, if people can fill out a form, you're collecting data from them. And as such, you need a privacy policy. My recommendation, which is actually I'm going to talk a little bit about later for a privacy policy, is to go to Termageddon. I'll put a link to that website down below where you pay, right now I think it's $99 a year. They might raise their fees in the future, but you get to create a template privacy policy in their system where you answer a whole bunch of questions and they create something that is especially for you. And if you use the code on your website and don't just copy and paste, then it automatically updates for changes in the law, which is wonderful because privacy policy stuff changes like almost every single day. Some state or country is changing their rules. So you want your policy to be up to date with the latest stuff. And Termageddon, I'm not and they haven't sponsored this or anything like that. I use their privacy policy on my own website. So number 4 is about business licenses and permits. My big recommendation there is you might need a business license or a permit, but you might not. So how you find out that answer is you start local. You start on the website for the city or town that you live in. Now, on that website, they'll usually have a section about business, and you click on that and you look at, do they have a business tax or a business license? Do they have a permitting system for, maybe you work from home, they have a home occupation permit. Their website will usually give answers. If they don't have, if you can't figure it out, they usually will have an email address or phone number to call. If you still can't figure that out or they don't have that there, you go in person to the city or town and talk to the people in the business license or business tax office, and they'll tell you what you're supposed to do. Occasionally, you need a business license or some kind of permit from a higher level. Same kind of thing, you go to the website for your state where it talks about business stuff, and you click on that and they'll have some kind of like system where it tells you whether or not you need a license or a permit. Every state calls it something different, but like you click a bunch of different boxes and go through a questionnaire, and this generator will tell you what business licenses or permits that you need. So the information can be hard to find just because there's so many different government levels that apply to all of us as business owners. But if you go to their websites, you usually can figure it out. Tip number 5 is about sales taxes. So I'm specifically talking about those of you who sell products. Now, in some states in the United States, you actually do have to pay sales tax on services, but that's not everywhere. But products, it's everywhere that has sales taxes, because some states don't have sales tax. Yeah, we're complicated here in the United States. Anyway, so if you're thinking about launching a new business, we're going to be selling products. One way you may want to go is to test your sales on at a marketplace facilitator. So marketplace facilitators are places where you have like your little store, and then they handle all the financial stuff, including collecting the sales taxes. So if you sell products on Amazon, if you sell it on Etsy, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, there's a whole bunch of businesses that are marketplace facilitators, and then they will collect the sales tax and turn it over for you, and you don't have to get a seller's permit, which is helpful in the beginning when you're just trying to test things out and just sell a few products. Now, once you want to have your own website, which includes a Shopify website, because Shopify is not a marketplace facilitator, then you have to get your sales tax permit or seller's permit, whatever they call it in your state, and you have to handle all that collection yourself. Now, there's ways to do that. You can use TaxJar. Shopify may actually have their own system. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are systems that will handle all that for you, but you have to set that all up. And if you want to test your product by using a marketplace facilitator, you can test your product, figure out your price points, see if it sells, change things before you go ahead and do the hassle of doing all the sales tax stuff yourself. So legal tip number 6 is about terms. So terms of service or terms and conditions. So anytime you're selling anything, any service or product, you want to have some kind of terms and policies that apply to that transaction. It's going to cover everything from what exactly you're providing, how much money should be paid to you for that thing. It also covers what your refund policy is, what if they're unhappy, what happens if something goes wrong, all that stuff. Now, how that looks is going to be a little bit different if you're selling a service versus a product. A product, a lot of times, it may just be, here's a whole set of things that apply with all your shipping policies and refund policies and all this stuff, and it applies to all the products bought off the website. For service, you may have different terms for different services, right? So some services you're going to provide, let's say you do life coaching. Some of them you just do one call, some of them will have a package, some of them is a monthly fee. They're going to have a little bit different terms. Either way, you want to have clear terms, and someone needs to agree to those terms when they buy your stuff. It can't just be a link from the footer, even though a link from the footer is good to have. You also need to have in your shopping cart a place where they check a box or sign something or whatever to agree to those terms. And then you track the fact that they agreed. So later on, if there's a dispute, you can show they agreed to your contract. And like I talked about before, with the privacy policy, if you sign up for that term again thing, then you also get a generator to create terms and conditions and things. So that can be really helpful to get both of those things for the same price from the same company. I've used Termageddon, and I've had a number of clients who switched over to that. So it's a really good resource if you don't want to pay a lawyer to draft everything custom for you. Again, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts Weinstein. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, feel free to post them in the comments below, and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Subscribe for more videos like this. And if you have even more questions, you can sign up for the Patreon or the free Discord. Links are in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.